Okay, so I think that's about time. So it's 2 minutes past. Thank you everyone for joining. This is going to be blocked off for an hour, but I think we'll be nicely wrapped up within about half an hour, allowing some time for questions at the end. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, for those who've joined a little bit later, my name is Melissa Vella and I'm the State Manager for the Advertising Council here in Western Australia. I have been with the Ad Council for 2 years. Prior to me joining, I was actually on the client side, and I was obviously originally from South Africa, as you can hear by my accent, but have been living in this beautiful country for 13 years. So I was on the client side and made a change over to advertising 2 years ago. I've absolutely loved the change. Being at the Ad Council has been amazing. And I'm so thrilled and privileged to be taking you through the JumpStart program tonight. It didn't run last year because of COVID, which is a real pity and a shame. I had a lot of students contacting me last year asking about JumpStart, but unfortunately with everything that happened last year, it just wasn't the right time. And now I have both agencies and students crying out for JumpStart to be running again this year. So I'm really excited to be getting it off the ground. We're going to run through the presentation, and if there's any questions, please pop them in the Q&A, and then I'll spend some time at the end just going through your questions. So before we start, we wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Noongar people. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. Who we are. So last year, we were formerly known as the Communications Council. Some of you who are more familiar with us in that by that name, we were the Communications Council for a few years. And a decision was made last year by the board to reclaim the word advertising in our name. And I think it was, for me personally, when I go around and introduce myself, it's obviously a far easier job when I say I'm at the Advertising Council than the Communications Council. But they really wanted to reclaim the word advertising because I think for a while now there has been sometimes a negative connotation with regards to advertising, that it's all fun and games, and yes, whilst it is fun, it's actually serious business. So they wanted to reclaim the word advertising in our name and really deliver to both the private and the public sector more of the value of what advertising is delivering. So we are a peak body for Australia's leading advertising agencies in the industry. So we are a member organisation, and our purpose is to foster the long-term prosperity of the industry, making advertising the most valued professional service industry in Australia. And that's a pretty big goal for us. We want to be seen in the same professional light as lawyers, accountants, architects, and I think really be seen in both the public and private sector as really delivering a tangible outcome, a measurable outcome for business. We have 160 member agencies across Australia and 5,000 individuals. So that's a kind of snapshot of who our national members are. So it's a mix of both big and small agencies, groups and independents. And in WA, we made up of a mix as well of the bigger agencies, being Wunderman Thompson, the brand agency, 303, Mullen-Lowe, and Market Force. And then some smaller independents, being Rare, Trilogy, and their sister companies, Ant Marketing, Gatecrasher, Lateral Aspect, and Creative ADM, which are a new member to the Advertising Council. As I mentioned, our vision is to make advertising the most valued professional services industry in Australia, and we do that through three things, so three pillars. The first being people development. So we build professional talent through accreditation and diversity. We run a number of training courses for the market and for entry-level individuals. We also run a very popular and well-known school called Award School, which is for any aspiring creatives, but essentially it's become a course now for people who just want to become better at ideas. So we're seeing a lot of other people sort of coming into that area. JumpStart forms part of that people development side. The industry is very passionate about ensuring we nurture and keep bringing talent into our industry and foster people's skills and talents. We know that there's a lot of other career options, and we want to make sure that we're doing the utmost we can to attract people to advertising, and then the main thing is to retain them in advertising. We also, our second pillar is championing creativity. So we run a number of awards. The Award Awards is probably the most popular, and we do a number of things in the realm of creativity. And then we do a lot of demonstrating value, both to our members and to the industry, through the delivering of reports and analyses on effectiveness in advertising, value-based pricing, and all stuff like that. So stuff that you may not come into contact with now at this entry-level stage, but certainly if you do enter the industry, you'll see a lot more of us in that realm. And then finally, we take up a position of industry leadership when it comes to any sort of government lobbying or dealing with educational institutes. We are often contacted to ask, for opinion on, course outlines, etc. And we like to work quite closely with our tertiary institutes, especially. But tonight, as I mentioned, JumpStart forms part of People Development, and I'll take you through the JumpStart program. So JumpStart is essentially our 10-week industry induction program that provides participants with really practical learning and insight into the WA advertising industry. The program isn't run in any other state under by the Advertising Council. It's only run in WA. It's a WA-specific program, and it has been hugely successful. When I started at the Advertising Council 2 years ago, and I went around and met all my members, the biggest benefit they felt that the Advertising Council delivered to the WA market was JumpStart. So it's highly, highly thought of by the members in the industry. Why do we recommend you doing JumpStart? Well, it's been running for over 8 years, and it really is the perfect entry pathway into our industry. Even today, I get calls by agencies asking me, do I know of any JumpStart graduates that are looking for a job? And it didn't even run last year. So they're asking me for individuals from 2, 3, 4 years ago, because they just know that the people who've gone through that program are so well versed in what advertising is that they're far more quickly going to, hit the ground running in their roles. Which gets on to my second point. It acts as an induction program, so you can hit the ground running when you get hired. There's been an 80% recruitment success rate in all the years that we've been running JumpStart, which is amazing. So if we take 20 students, that's a good proportion of those students that are actually getting jobs, not necessarily in agencies, but it might also be within media partners or design firms, etc. So definitely in the creativity space, but certainly a really high success rate for employment. It offers a really unique opportunity to explore what real life agencies are like, and it teaches you so much stuff that university and theory doesn't. It's really the practical side of what advertising is. It connects you with key people in the industry and provides an insight to all possible job roles and career paths within advertising. And it's guaranteed that by the end, you'll know exactly what you want to be and where you want to work, because what you'll find, and it was like a light bulb moment for me, 2 years ago in 2019 when I went through the JumpStart program with the other students, I always thought that I knew mostly what all agencies were like, and going through the JumpStart program, I even learned stuff I didn't know, and I didn't appreciate that agencies are all different. They have different skills and strengths and nuances and approaches to work, and it's just amazing. And this is what that program is going to give you, the real insight into the heart and culture of these businesses, so that you can determine where it is that you want to work. In terms of the JumpStart program, the dates are the 31st of August to the 5th of November. It sounds like a long time, but it's actually only 3 hours every Tuesday, so from 3 to 6 p.m. From the 31st of August to the 26th of October. But you do require a full day to work on your final day pitch on the 5th of November. All of those details I'll walk you through in a minute. There's 4 stages. So the first is the application stage. The second is a speed date. The third is the agency experiences, which, as I mentioned above, are the 3 hours on Tuesday afternoons where you go to different agencies every single week. And the final stage is the final day pitch presentation, and then we have a graduation. I'll take you through each of the stages now. So in terms of stage 1, the application, there's always 5 questions in the application, and the participating agencies receive all applications and have to judge them. This year's questions, and they're going to be released after this webinar on our website, are the following. So the first is pick an ad and tell us what you love or hate about it. Here, it's not a question we're trying to trip you up on. We literally just want to see what ads you love and what ads you hate. But I do want to caution you that you've seen who the participating agencies are, that if you choose an ad that you hate, please check that it's not one of the participating agencies, because you're very quickly going to be getting terrible scores from that agency, and your likelihood of progressing to the next stage will be lower. So really just think about an ad that really made an impression on your life at any point in time, and tell us why you love it or hate it. The second question is, if you were a brand, which brand would you choose to be and why? And here, again, it's not any kind of rocket science. These questions are designed for us to really understand the type of person that you are. So we really want to use these questions as a way to, not just look at your resume, at the black and white of what you've done, but really get to know a little bit more of your personality at an application stage, which we then can verify when we meet you in person at the speed date. The third question is, explain advertising to an 8-year-old. Here you have a word limit of 250 words. And those 250 words, you have to incorporate any actions, drawings, props that you might use. But we really want to understand what you understand about advertising. So the way that you think about it and how you would explain it lets us know whether you really grasp what it is. The fourth question is, if you could give your younger self 3 pieces of advice, what would that be and why? Here we really just want to get an insight into some of the life experiences you've had. And I think there'll be some really interesting answers that come out of this one, which we're quite excited to see. And the final one, it's a bit of fun. It's sell yourself in 45 seconds. So why do you want to be in JumpStart? It can be as creative as you want if you're a creative person. If you're not a creative person, that's okay. I think the point of these questions are we really are trying to see your authentic self. Some application tips. My first tip for you is that you should type your answers into a document. And once you are happy with your answers, copy and paste them into the online application form and check that everything has copied across. Online things always have glitches, etc. So please just do that, because I had some instances in 2019 where people were contacting me and asking me to edit their answers and stuff like that. And, to go through 80 applications to do that is just, I can't really, get to that point. So my advice is type it in a document, copy and paste it into the online application platform. Make sure you don't exceed the word limit when you're asked to stick to a particular word limit on specific questions. Test your volume on your video first, and then you record it. It's no point in you doing this amazing video and then replaying it to yourself and the volume's horrendous. So test it first and then record it. And we want you to load your videos onto Vimeo. And if you do so and you set up a password, because you can password protect videos, please make sure that you include the password with the link in that sort of drop-down field, because then again, I have to contact you and ask you for the password, which, the timing between submitting your application and judging starting is a couple of days. So if you can just be mindful to please put your password there as well. So from that, 30 of you get invited to a speed date with participating agencies. And it's a really cool fun night. It will be on the 18th of August at the Subiaco Hotel, and you literally sit at little tables and there's a roster and you get to meet everyone and they ask you different questions. Some of their questions will be industry related. Some will be red herrings, as in tell me what kind of vegetable you'd be if you were a vegetable. These are creatives, right? So they aren't going to always be asking you stock standard questions. But the object of the night is to really just get a feel for you and who you are and whether they want to put you through to the next stage. You'll be scored in your conversations while you're having conversations with the agencies. You'll be scored on impression. So your conduct, your confidence, your engagement, your communication. So how articulate you were, whether you listened, were you well considered. You'll be paired up with someone. So make sure that when you are paired up with that person, that you let them have a chance to speak as well. The industry, so do you have an opinion? What is your understanding? What's your favorite ad? Hence the application question, which will help you in the speed date. But also just, who the participating agencies are, and you certainly will know by the end of this presentation. So if you're invited to a speed date, make sure that you've gone onto their website, checked their work. It's really important that you have an understanding of who it is that you're meeting. Presentation, your attire, your body language, your confidence. Now, attire, I'll put it in the tips when I bring those up, but don't rock up with thongs and a cap. Like, the advertising industry isn't super professional in the sense that we don't wear suits and high heels, but we also, you know, you're meeting people and your first impressions do count. And then what do you know about the agency? So here, again, leading back to my previous point, research will be very important for you. And then here are my speed date tips. So dress appropriately, it's smart casual. Be yourself, because that is who they want to see. They really want to see if they can, you know, get to know you in 7 minutes. And then also based on the fact that they've seen your application. You can bring a resume if you wish. You can, they might ask you for one, they might not. It's not really an interview as such, but if you feel more comfortable, you can bring a couple of copies. That's absolutely fine. And my main point, and I've said it now 3 times, is please do your research. I said it time and time again in 2019, and still there were people that rocked up and hadn't heard of the agencies they were meeting with. So please research. So after the speed date, 20 students will be selected. And if you accept your position, we'll ask you to pay a non-refundable placement fee of $100. So previously, we didn't have a placement fee, but this year we feel like it's really important to students to also contribute to the program, not have it all sort of heavy on the agency side, and it shows your commitment to sticking it out for 10 weeks, because with 80 or so applications every year that come in, your place actually has a value attached to it. So we just really want you to, you know, put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. These are the participating agencies this year. So in my previous slide, I showed you who were the WA agencies. Not all of them have decided to participate in JumpStart, because some of them have their own sort of graduate internship programs that they're trying to get off the ground or that they run. So we've got Wunderman Thompson and 303 Mullen Lowe as 2 global creative agencies, full service agencies. We have Initiative, who are a global media buyer or company. So those are like the 3 sort of groups, so to speak. And then we've got a really nice mix of some nice independents. So we've got Rare, bottom left, Gatecrasher, Trilogy, and Creative ADM are all full service creative agencies. And then we have Bonfire, and they're Perth's probably most successful and biggest digital agency. So in terms of stage 3 and the agency experiences, so what a very rough format of how the 3 hours every Tuesday will run is that you'll get an agency overview. They'll have a topic that they'll present. You might do a group or an individual task, and then there's an opportunity to network. And we've kind of left this sort of fairly broad. We've given agencies a structure that we'd like them to follow, but then left it up to them to make sure that by the end of it, you absolutely know what they've spoken about, that you are well versed in the topic, and that they've, you know, got the most out of you in the 3 hours that they've had you there. So there's the program. I'll take you through in a bit more detail. So week 1 through to 9 are all the agency experiences. And then week 10 is your final week where you do the preparation of the client pitch, etc. Week 1 will be the advertising industry. So this is an intro week, essentially, and it'll be held at the new member Creative ADM on the 31st of August. And they have been around for over 20 years. They've got a really nice mix of some sort of towns and shires, and a really good mix of people. St. John have got healthcare, and they are a really nice bunch. They've got a lovely fluffy dog when you walk in that greets you, and they're just a nice sort of small knit, really cool team. So I look forward to having them on board with JumpStart for the first time, but also having them present that session for you guys. Week 2 will be account management. This will be at Trilogy. So Trilogy and their sister company Ant Marketing, they do a lot of property development clients, also destinations. So Forest Chase, one of them, they do some labeling and branding and stuff. So a really nice mix. They've just moved into some beautiful new offices in Hay Street. Lovely people, been around for 20 years, I think, and just a really nice bunch. Next, we've got strategy at Rare. So Rare recently won the 2021 Campaign Brief WA Agency of the Year Award, which is amazing. They're Perth's biggest independent agency. They've done a bunch of work that you would be familiar with: Bedshed, Baron O'Day, West Coast Eagles rebrand, Yagan Square branding. So yeah, a really lovely group of people. Next, we've got the creative process at 303 Mullen Low. And because they're a global company, their work on their website is a mix of a whole lot of different brands. Some of them are international. They get to work on some international stuff here in Perth, but they also work on, these Perth clients as well as a whole lot of others. They're probably one of the most historical agencies in Perth. They've been in Perth for a number of years. They've got offices in the city, and really, really good bunch of people. We're going to do a finance session with Gavin Bain, who's the managing partner at Wunderman Thompson. And finance was the least favorite topic out of all of them, but Gavin loves finance, so he's put his hand up to say he'll host the finance session at Wunderman Thompson. And then the next week, you'll go back to Wunderman Thompson and they'll present CX Essentials. Wunderman Thompson recently merged, well, they did merge last year with Perth. Then Perth's biggest independent was Meerkats. Meerkats and Wunderman Thompson merged, and Wunderman Thompson are part of the WPP AUNZ network, and have global resources that they tap into. Very great strategy kind of work, as well as great branding, and a lot of nice tech stuff. And you'll see on the right-hand side there, the Wunderman Thompson Perth guys recently launched an Anglicare cold campaign. So you may have seen that if you subscribe to Campaign Brief WA. On that note, if you haven't already, subscribe to Campaign Brief WA before we go to the speed date or before you even apply, and just go through their past sort of articles and posts and stuff. You really will get a better feel for the landscape of Perth advertising industries from there. Digital, we'll head to Bonfire. As I mentioned, great guys, lots of examples of how the sort of digital performance has worked for clients, and they're probably Perth's most well-known and sort of aggressive digital business in the sense that they really market themselves well. They support the industry a lot. They're always getting involved in the industry, and this year is the first time they'll be doing JumpStart in terms of the digital module. So really excited to have the Bonfire guys join us. Then we've got Media, so Initiative, again, part of a global network. So they do work with a whole lot of really cool brands. But they've probably been, the Perth branch has probably been the most sort of successful, well-known media company over the last few years. And the session that they run is always really popular because people don't really know what to expect from media. I myself went to the JumpStart in 2019, didn't really know what to expect, and blew me away, like how much strategy, thought, and that goes into media, because it's not coincidence that you see an ad. They know your demographic, where you live, what sort of routes you take here and there. It's like so scientific and so like well thought out, and you kind of don't appreciate what an important part they play in actually getting the messages out there. They also do a great networking event for the JumpStart kids where they invite all of the media suppliers, so the radio stations, the TV networks, the outdoor media guys to come along afterwards. And quite a few of the JumpStarters from last year have been placed at Initiative, but also at media partners, which is a really great start to a career in advertising. And then Gatecrasher, one of the most sort of long-standing independents as well. So a smaller agency, but a real mix of clients, some branding, some destination, some government, and they've also diversified themselves, and they've set up a production business called Stir Fry Productions. And so they'll actually take you through the production module of the program. So that's pretty exciting. So that's it. And then the final week, as I mentioned, is the pitch week. So stage 4 is on the Tuesday, the 2nd of November. The 20th will be broken up into 4 groups of 5. And you'll receive your first part of your pitch presentation brief. And you'll have, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to work on it. So that forms part of the pitch, but it's the first part. And then Friday, 5th of November, in the morning, you'll receive the second part of your pitch. And then you'll be sent out to mentor agencies. So the agencies that have participated will either be judges or mentors. So you'll be sent out to mentor agencies, and you'll have 5 hours to work together as a group to put your pitch together. And the role of the mentor agency is really there to assist you if you get stuck in the brief. And also they'll be scoring you in terms of how you're working as a team and as individuals, how you're getting the work done, etc. In the afternoon, the groups all reconvene at an agency. And there you do your first pitch to a panel of agency leaders and the client in question. So the client will be there as well. It's usually about 7 or so judges. It can be quite daunting, and you do really need nerves of steel. But it is also in the name of fun. And I guess the point of the final pitch is to make sure that you know and you can articulate all that you've learned throughout the program. And they would just want to demonstrate that you've absorbed everything and you've learned well. So there's a winning individual, which is scored by the mentors. And there's also a winning group. The group who obviously wins the pitch is the winning group. And you might wonder, what do you get for winning? Well, you get bragging rights and a mention in the campaign brief WA article. So that's pretty cool. And afterwards, we all go to the graduation dinner, and then I invite all of the participating agencies to come along. And you can then, in a more social setting, chat to people, and they can get to know you a little bit better. But it's a nice wrap up of a very stressful day, but good fun in the end. So this is a quote from a 2019 JumpStarter. The program is a foot in the door of the industry. It teaches you all the stuff that uni doesn't, and you have a great time while doing it. It's the only way I'd recommend jumpstarting the advertising career. I've only been at the Ad Council 2 years, and my first group of JumpStarters was the 2019 group. But one thing that kind of astounded me is the friendship that the 20 students made. Like, we've got a Facebook group, and they're always on there. They've met up socially, because essentially you're going to go through your career with these guys, either working in the same agency as you, or working at a media company, or working in a competitor. But you'll all have gone through this together, and that's what's really beautiful and it's almost understated about JumpStart. There's JumpStarters all around the world, all around Perth, and I put together 2 videos of 2 guys. We are obviously trying to be more gender diverse, so please don't use the videos as any guide in terms of the type of person we're looking for. These were a few of the many videos that I received from alumni, but they were the shortest ones. And so I've just put them in because for time allowances, but there certainly isn't a lack of people wanting to put their hand up and talk about their amazing JumpStart journeys.
Hi guys, my name is Adam McGlashan and I'm a Senior Strategist at BML Weiner London, and I graduated from the JumpStart program in 2014. So for me, what the program is really all about is getting a really robust understanding on how agencies operate and how all the different disciplines within an agency work and all fit together. From account management to strategy, creative, production, media, finance, it really gives you a solid understanding on what a day in the life actually looks like, and then gives you an environment to ask all those nitty-gritty questions to work out where your skill set best fits and which career pathway you're aspiring towards. I think in terms of the key things that I learned from the program, understanding that broader campaign development process was really, really essential, and how collaboration works across all the different disciplines within an agency to go from a client's brief to a campaign that's out in the world, and kind of which role you want to play within that. It also teaches you the power of personal branding and, the need to talk about your interests and your skill sets with conviction and really selling yourself. And, that's something that you're going to continue to find important throughout the rest of your career. And then finally, for me, it was really understanding the nuance of strategic planning and kind of how it's applied. It got me really, really excited about, that role, and it really helped solidify that that's where I wanted to take my career. I think what I found really surprising about the program is I knew I was going to get really great networks from the program, but I didn't realize how many great friendships that I'd get. A few of my close friends now have actually come from that program, and I've actually moved over to London with one of my close friends from JumpStart, Sarah. So it really does give you a really, really awesome group of friends, as well as really great networks within the industry. I think how it may have changed my career, I think initially it helps you sort truth from illusion of the glamour that advertising can have versus the reality. It does really set your expectations, and it shows you how all the pieces fit together. And it is an industry that really demands hard work and resilience and stamina. And I think it's really great to kind of give you an insight into what that environment looks like before you actually formally step in. My final piece of advice, I think, it's such an amazing program. I think, definitely take that leap of faith and apply. You'll get such great networks, really great friendships. Senior leaders within agencies will know who you are. And it really does start to open doors, and it does start to help you understand, where do you want to take your career? So I think in terms of the application, have some fun with it. Don't be afraid to kind of share your voice, that people do really want to hear that. Make it exciting, make it interesting, and all the best.
Hey guys, my name is Rain Thompson and I'm a senior account manager at the brand agency in Perth. So I graduated from JumpStart back in 2016 and started my career at Meerkats, where I spent 2.5 years working with their account management team before I moved over to the brand agency. So for me, JumpStart was a really great program. You got really good exposure to a lot of the different agencies in town and the different departments within there. One of the other benefits from it that you don't realise until probably after the program is that the network that you actually grow and create naturally. So if you think about it, you're doing the program with 20 other people who will go work in different agencies in Perth as well, whether that be media or creative agencies. And throughout your career, you'll get to start working with them, which is a lot of fun. How it helped me was really just getting exposure to the right people who you should be talking to when you want to start your career. The best piece of advice that I could give you is be yourself as you go through the program. At the end of the day, agencies will hire you for who you are and how you're going to fit into that company and that culture. So being yourself is really important, and don't follow the herd. That's all from me. Good luck.
So, and Rain actually got a promotion today. So he's actually an account director, which is amazing. So some key dates for you. Today is the webinar. After this, the application brief is going to be released. It's going to be due on the 2nd of August at midnight. And then on the 13th of August, candidates will be notified if you were successful or not and invited to the speed date. The speed date event, as I mentioned, is at the Subiaco Hotel on the 18th of August. You'll know by the 20th of August whether you're in. And then on the 31st to the 26th, it's all go at Agency Experiences. And as I mentioned, the final day is on the 5th of November. So where do you go to apply? So after this, you'll all receive an email with a link anyway on how to get to this point. But if you're eager beavers and you want to go read some more information about JumpStart anyway, you can go to our website, advertisingcouncil.org.au. You on the left-hand side, you click on advertising courses, and then you drop down to ad school, because this JumpStart program is part of the ad school brand. Scroll down, you'll find the JumpStart WA graduate program sort of article or area. Click on that, and then you'll see at the moment it has a register button, which a lot of you did do, and hence you got contacted to say that the program was now live. But after tonight, it will now say book now, and that will take you through to the application form. As I mentioned, word of advice, type it in a document and then copy and paste it into the application form. So that's it from me. That wraps up the JumpStart sort of presentation. You can visit our website and you can subscribe to our newsletter. It's always, we're always posting really cool events and stuff that our young bloods run, and also keeping you up to date with stuff like JumpStart and anything that's relevant to recent grads or the market. You can connect with me, absolutely connect with me. My name is Melissa Vella, as I mentioned. And if you want to, you can also email me if you have any questions. There's my email address. Also, if you'd like to volunteer, we run a lot of events in Perth. We are a not-for-profit, so we do often ask for volunteers at those events. So please drop me an email if you're interested in any of that. And that is the end of the presentation. There are absolutely no questions, which is amazing, which means I may have done a good job in actually articulating everything that JumpStart is. As I mentioned, send me an email if you do have any questions that pop up between now and applications opening, or even whilst you're doing your application. I'm happy to answer your questions, and I really look forward to receiving your applications and then meeting some of you at the speed date. But most importantly, taking you through Perth's most successful WA GRADVERTISING program. Thank you for your time and have a great night. Bye. Oh, I see there is one question in the chat. Thank you, Melissa. Oh, cool. Thank you. Cheers, everyone.